Alright, so this is 30k Forgotten Legion, and today I'm just going to have a little bit of a look at Siege of Cthonia, or Cthonia, or however you want to pronounce it. Basically, the idea is to just, see if it's any good, really. So let's have a look what we got. So front cover's good, the artwork's all standard, awesome, GW stuff, so all good there. Some really great timeline, 30k history, I guess. Uh, awesome stuff, really. The background itself, I thought was really good. Essentially, it concentrates on the fact that the Imperial Fists took over Cthonia early on, and then basically a sort of splinter fleet from the 16th Legion is coming to reclaim their homeworld, wrest it back from the Imperial Fists as a sort of prize for Horus. That's pretty much the premise, really. Got some interesting timelines about Cthonia, so that's always good. Got the stuff about different invasion fleets and the different garrison, the garrison of Cthonia, so that's also good. Not only are Sons of Horus involved, but there is also an element of the word bearers that get involved as well in this campaign. Just a brief look at the sort of layout of Cthonia. Got some sort of what they call it, the wall. They're just like sort of little fortresses, and then obviously the Pharos Obscurus and Presidium Arex or something, or Presidium Arcs, that's it. Titan Yards as well, so again, really cool graphics here. There's a Mark 6 Sons of Horus Marine. Quite also interesting is about talking about the reason why they cover the skulls of the enemies in gold, a sort of worthy foe, I guess, and things like that. So that's kind of what the Sons of Horus do. Weird old gang rituals and stuff. What I found also particularly interesting is the fact there's a loyalist 15th Legion Thousand Sons that are accompanying the Imperial Fists, and they've got like some sort of Sisters of Silence guardians with them. So I found it really interesting. A loyalist or splinter force from Thousand Sons. That was really cool. So yeah, it's awesome. So here's a 7th Legion Imperial Fist, living the dream, looking good. Particularly like this helmet, the Sons of Horus. This looks a bit better than the normal sort of beaky Mark 6 Marines, and it got all the gang markings on his armour and stuff. That's really cool. Also in this book, it does concentrate quite a lot on the Inducti, which I thought was another really great sort of bit of background. And in this particular Mark 6 Marine, the white sort of indicates Inducti by the look of it for the 7th Legion. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Here's what sort of appears, like a different Legion, but it's the 9th Legion. Just about see it there on his leg greave. Looks a bit like a flesh terror to me, which is awesome. Mark 6 Marine again. It's nice to see different sort of colours and armour markings as well for the 9th Legion, so I like that, even though they weren't involved. Yeah, just another cool picture of Sons of Horus Marine, Mark 6 again. It's pretty good. Okay, so obviously it's a campaign book as well, so it's got a really cool campaign that I've read through. Obviously you need, Imperial Fists and Sons of Horus really to sort of fight this. But you can do it also with, if you've got a 15th Legion, but they'll be Loyalist. And you can also get the 17th Legion, so Word Bearers, they can get involved as well in this campaign, so that's pretty good. And of course you can just make up your own campaigns, I guess, and just use the rules from it. Okay, so takeaways then. So the core missions. So for quite a long time, we have been playing the same missions. I mean, I think in version 1 we had pretty much the same missions we had in version 2, and it's a bit sad that the design team, although they did quite a good job of V2 of Horus Heresy, I think that when it comes to the missions, I think they must have just forgot and just went, oh, we'll just use these ones. So that was a bit disappointing. But, at the end of the day, they're starting to release missions, so that's good. And I'm going to have a quick look at the core missions that we can use in just normal standard games at 30k. So luckily the Force Organization chart is the same, so we don't have to worry about, changing anything up with the missions from this book. Also, the missions we have are sort of 6 missions here. Let's have a look and focus on that one. Oh, my camera's being a complete pain. Anyway, 1, 2, 5. Sorry, 5 missions, and then the deployment maps are much simpler, so we don't have to have Vanguard Strike, which is so annoying. I know everyone finds that annoying, and although ambush is fun, I think sometimes it just takes a long time to do. But we've got these 3 missions: Hammer and Anvil, Dawn of War, Search and Destroy. Okay, you do your normal stuff. Sudden death, so if someone gets unfortunately tabled, just an extra VP, which I think is a really good way of doing that, rather than just saying, oh yeah, I've won. You just get an extra VP and you still count them, so then it doesn't matter if you get destroyed. If you did all the missions, then you might accumulate more VPs than your opponent and you might still win the game, so that's pretty good. So Cellular Warlord, yeah, I get that. That's a good mechanic, and an extra VP if they're a Primarch. Giant Killer, I like that as well. An extra 2 VPs if something's like huge. Last Man Standing we've had before, fine. These two, I found them a tiny bit annoying, if I'm honest, because break their ranks and first strike, there really isn't hardly any difference between them. I think it's just a bit unnecessary to have them both in a game. So I'm probably going to sort of take break their ranks out and not play with that. The only other thing is it's set for 4 turns. Now, again, it's one of those other things that I just thought was a bit unnecessary, because if, for instance, you are unlucky enough to get your reserves arriving on turn 4, and your reserves are a major part of your army, then, I mean, they're not going to do anything. You're going to do one thing and then stop, and then the game ends. So I'm not too sure that's great. So for me, I've wanted to change it up a bit and have 5 turn games instead, really. So that's kind of the changes I foresee. I might change back, or I might keep it the same, or amend them again. It's up to everyone what they do. But there we are. That's what I think. So in summary, I would get rid of break their ranks, and I would play 5 turns. Okay, mission 1 then. So Crucible War, I like this one. So basically, you just get, there's objective markers on the board, and you get 1 VP for each objective mark you control. So I kind of like that one. That is good, and there's only 3 objectives, so that makes fighting over them pretty important. I like the fact you can also declare, if you go first, it's night fight, so that's quite good. It's quite a good mechanic, so you don't have to roll for it. So why would you sort of pretend to attack at night and go, actually I messed it up, and don't attack at night, you just attack at night. So that's good. And then next one, these 2 I think are the best ones, and the next one is the Heart of Battle. So yeah, you get the end of the player turn 3 victory points to the control objective marker, and there's only 1 for this one, and I really like this one as well, because basically you just put the objective in the middle. So it's objective in the middle, and you're just having a massive scrap over the objective in the middle, which I think is really cool. So that's good. And then again, the same things as before. You've got your secondary missions, which you just talked about, and you can have night fight if you are going first as well. Yeah, these other missions I wasn't entirely sold on. I think when you add when you overcomplicate missions, and for some people, it's just keeping track of these things, and you can just get lost in it. When you're setting up and going for your armies, and you don't quite know what you've got in your own army, let alone your opponent's, you forget rules and all these things that we all normally do. It can be a bit more confusing to add loads of extra stuff. So yes, Sudden Strike is mission 3. And this is the mission. So yeah, so you basically get points for objective markers on different sort of turns and stuff like that. So that's kind of that one. So I'm kind of avoiding that one for Bright Heresy. I'm going to put 2 of the missions in, which will be 1 and 2, which we just looked at. Crucible of War and Heart of Battle, they'll be used for Brighton Heresy 5 with the amendments I talked about. So I'm going to avoid the other missions for the moment. So I might put them in, you never know. So Taking Hold, again, not too bad, but out of the 5 missions, you know, I didn't want to replace all of them, so I just put the first 2 in for a start. This I did quite like because it's 2 objectives, 1 in each zone, and you get 1 if you hold your own and 3 if you hold both. So I kind of like this one. This one might be added in, but as I said, I don't want to put too many in just for the fact that it's all new. So yeah, but this one I really did think quite a bit hard about putting this one in or not, but I chose the first 2 missions instead. But it's still good. You know, you get 1 VP if you've got 1 of them, and you know, 3 victory points if you get 2 of them. So that's pretty cool. And again, you get the night fight if you go first. That's a good one. Okay, this was probably the most confusing one with stuff moving around. So yeah, so basically your objective marker scatters D6 plus 6 so these ones can go really awry, can't they? If imagine you are unfortunate enough for it to just float right next to your enemy's deployment zone, you know, turn 1, you're like, oh great, you know, it changes it quite big. So I'll probably avoid Strike and Fade, to be honest. So that's kind of the mission rundown, and I'll be using the first 2. Alright, so this is really cool. I really like this guy. It just looks awesome. 15th Legion Loyalist. Talked about the markings on his armour being sort of identifiable as a Loyalist. So I thought it was really cool, little sort of touch there, so he looks cool. Okay, they've got Apex missions. So again, this will probably, the Apex missions will probably be really for the sort of forces that were on there. If you want to play like with a 7th Legion against 16th, you know, you can have Mechanicum, as I said. You can have 15th Legion Loyalist. You've got 17th Legion as well there. So yeah, the Apex missions are additional stuff if you want to play the campaign. And of course you can, you know, like I said, just change the planet to something else and use the same missions, I guess. Right, I was quite excited about Zone Mortalis coming back to Heresy, because it is actually loads of fun. Zone Mortalis, you know, boarding actions, underground fights, you know, fights in, you know, cities or in a hangar or something like that. So it's awesome stuff. You got your different reactions now. In the movement phase, you can, you know, basically suppress units, which sounds actually horrendous. Displace, I think, is really cool rule. So you can basically, when you get shot at, just run off and hide. So that's great. And then brace again is another cool rule. You just sort of stand there and you just take it. You just don't, just don't die when you don't run off. I mean, so that's pretty awesome. Also, you take casualties as normal. But yeah, some good extra different reactions for Zone Mortalis. Make it really interesting. Also, you can't have Leviathans, which is good, and you can only have a max of 2 Contemptors, which I thought was really awesome rule as well. That's really great. They've also done a good job of talking about how weapons scatter, and if there's closed doors or ceilings, you don't get hit. So all really, really great things that that need to be covered, and are, you know, common sense rules. But sometimes, you know, common sense and gaming tends to have a wide berth. But yeah, some really good diagrams as well. Obviously, that marker there is not going to hit this Marine over here because the door's closed, and it will hit that guy after flying into a wall. So yeah, it's all sort of things like that. So it's, you know, pretty well written, I think. Okay, Zone Mortalis stuff. Yeah, you can have 1 HQ and 1 troop. Go with that. And you've got all the other abilities to have lots more troops, elites, and then you can also have a Primarch as well if you really want to. The points limit's interesting, 1500 to 2500, and you can't have a Primarch unless it's 2000. So it kind of makes me think, well, play at 1999 then, so you don't have Primarchs running around. So that might be an option, or, you know, play 2000 points, and some can have Primarchs, I guess, because of the 25% cap. So there we are. That's sort of how you build your army. There's only these 3: sector control, sweep and clear, and strategium assault. So that's what we got for the missions. Reinforcement points are quite good. Basically, you are having a set amount, usually 6 at the start, and you can get more on if the mission says. And then it's kind of how you set up. You have to expend a certain amount of reinforcement points to set up, and then when it comes to bringing people on from reserve, you also use your reinforcement points for that. It's kind of a basic rundown, really. Yeah, you got your missions here, sector control, and that's a sort of overall picture of it. And you can actually like come on from different players' edges and stuff like that, which I find is great. Why not? I mean, you might be in a space hulk, you can sort of, the enemy can pop anywhere. Secondary rules, Counter-Strike, blood tolls, good. Champion of renown, so when you kill like a champion, or I mean a character, so that can be quite bad if you've got just basic sergeants getting killed constantly, because it gives away VPs. That's a secondary mission. Yeah, it's a good one. So victory conditions on this one then. So you get a VP for each objective of control, and even if you lost it later in the game. So yeah, that's another good mission. So sweep and clear, you've basically got to, well, as it sort of intimates or says, clear the enemy out. It's 4 quarters. It's really cool, and you've got to have, you know, your scoring units and no enemy scoring units in the quarter to get victory points. So that's another good mission. The strategic assault sounds absolutely savage. It's basically about just completely and utterly getting rid of the enemy in their little zone. So obviously the attacker win, end of the battle, they have at least 1 unit of an independence deployment zone, and if there's no units. So yeah, that's pretty savage. So absolutely bloodthirsty missions, these ones, so it's absolutely great. And obviously at the end of the battle, both players have at least 1 unit of deployment zone, or neither player has a unit within defender's deployment zone. The player who's got the most VPs won. And again, the secondaries can be quite horrendous as well. Like the champion of renown will just keep picking characters and challengers and battering them. So there we are. That's the map for that. You've also got the Apex missions for Zone Mortalis. You know, sort of fighting in the catacombs of Cthonia. So again, another, if you want to follow the campaign, that's pretty awesome. Okay, moving on then. So Lord Castellanavanda Garius, bit of a beast. He's got 4 wounds, I think, as well. Absolute beastie. Tamar armor, just a bit of a beat stick, so he's pretty cool. He's kind of the, how would you put it, the sort of garrison commander, I suppose, or tyrant of Cthonia, it says there. He's basically in charge of the loyalists on Cthonia. Varen Asheradan, probably pronounced that wrong. So the first Reaver, so he's cool. Yeah, one of the true sons of Cthonia. So true sons kind of abhor what's going on with the Legion and sort of demon stuff and all that. They prefer to be true to Cthonia in the sort of gang way of fighting and stuff like that. So again, he's a pretty good character. Lots of special rules, lots of cool equipment to carry. Okay, Decurions, essentially, they are gunners, really, tank gunners. That's basically what they are. Different sort of upgrades for tank gunners, essentially, that everyone can take now. You can have different sorts of points with them. Obviously, the more points, the better. And they only really go in the Predators, the Sicarans, the Kratos. Really, that's where they sort of go. This guy's pretty cool. I got an extra sort of an assassin, really. Infernus Abomination, just a bit of a yeah, fair enough. Wanted an assassin for the traitors, and they got one now. Running around being generally horrible. Here's what's his weapon called? The one that fires. Bone Shard Spit is like 2d6 Flesh Bane, so that's pretty nasty. It's only short range, sorry, but that's horrible. And he's got some good combat attacks as well. And so yeah, it's pretty nasty overall. Yeah, then we're on to the Inducti. Really loads of background about these Marines. So Inducti essentially they're still Space Marines. They are just gone the faster route, and some things have been not put inside them. So like, is it the Belcher's gland? I think the fact, you know, Marines spit acid and some other things like that, they've just sort of not added. Some are like Ottoman, so like for instance, the 4th Legion, they just sort of stand still until anything comes in range, like Automator, and then they start, you know, getting ready, firing, and all this stuff. So yeah, it's pretty cool, really, their background, and each Legion is different as well with their Inducti, and the rules are shown in this book. Yeah, so here are different Inducti. Obviously, every single Legion has different Inducti, and there we are, the Iron Warrior one. They're just yeah, it's pretty cool little tweaks, which is good. Okay, obviously you can have Inducti in, well, your armies now for 30k, so any and all of them you can have. So I don't know if, I'm sure Battlescribe, things like that have been updated to include these. If you can't afford this book, or, you know, ask it for a mate, or try and get it downloaded or something like that. But yeah, all the legions are here, so that's all good. Yeah, Thousand Suns, obviously a bit of a etheric guidance, Creed of Brutality with Sons of Horus, Empty Vessels, and then what's this? War Gear of Heroes. Salamanders get those of cool. So that's pretty cool. Running ones for melee attacks. That's pretty good. And Raven Guard got a good one. They just sort of bounce back 7 away. That's good. Yeah, they all have different specific rules as normal. So that's that Inducti lot. All right. More of the Thousand Suns, it would appear, but it's not. It's a disgusting traitorous Alpha Legion, pretending they're 15th Legion. And there he is, the big lad himself, Horus Ascended. So, overall, good book. I'm really excited to get involved with the new missions. I'll be using 2 for Bright Heresy 5 on the 22nd, 23rd of July. The first 2 with tiny amendments, so if you can get involved with that, please do so. And yeah, good book, and also keen to get Zone Mortalis going as well. And I'll probably do a Zone Mortalis video at some point, and I will start using my Salamander soon as well, so that'll be awesome. Alright, nice one, cheers.